This man, I'm slow today. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see. You're watching on YouTube. We're getting things set up here. And all right, got that going. Hello there, Hawkeye fans, and welcome to the Hawk Fanatic Rapid Reaction Podcast. Yes, we are still calling that. Yes, we are not rapid. We may just roll with this name for this year and come up with something for next year, but the meat is still here, and that's me, Rob Howe, along with Jovan Johnson and Jordan Canzeri, breaking down Iowa football. Yesterday, Iowa with a 10-7 victory against Northwestern at Wrigley Field. Definitely a strange environment. Both teams on the same sideline. It's kind of weird looking at it that way. But Iowa now 7-2, alone in first place in the Big Ten West with the worst offense in the country. You can't really make sense of it other than Jovan. We talked about it earlier in the season. When you're a defense that loses 2 first-round picks in Jack Campbell and Lucas Van Ness, Riley Moss to the NFL, Kayvon Merriweather to the NFL, all those guys they lost on that side of the ball, there would be some growing pains. And we saw them at times earlier in the season. This defense is lights out. I'll give you a couple stats here, then I'm going to let Jovan roll on this. 170 yards allowed are the fewest Iowa's defense has allowed since last year against Nevada. 81 passing yards to Northwestern, the fewest since 41 against Rutgers in 2019. And Northwestern had 29 yards and 2 first downs in the first half. Jovan, this defense just seems to continue to get better.
I mean, that's the way that Iowa's built. Is they're built around defense and football, and it's been that way for a long time. I mean, we've had some really good players on offense. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, defense has been the heartbeat of the football team ever since I could remember, dating back all the way to 2002. So, I mean, they're going to be well coached defensively. They're going to play fast and physical. They're gonna do what it takes to win, and they're gonna keep you from scoring big astronomical amounts of points and keep you from getting big plays. So they're doing a fantastic job defensively, and I just that's a testament to Phil Parker and his longevity as a defensive coordinator there, and just his ability to get those guys to believe. They believe in him, they believe in each other. And they go out and they play with relentless effort, and they're physical, and they fly around and have fun.
Jordan, it seems like the playbook is opening up on defense as well. We're seeing a little more. Nick Jackson's doing some more things now that he's acclimated. It just seems like what offenses are preparing for, they're getting a lot more than they're preparing for each week because Iowa is evolving on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, we still, as you said, there were certain areas and spots and games earlier in the season that offenses got, the best of us. But for this whole year, for the position where we're at, the record that we have, it is all up from the defense and special teams. It's with multiple people playing in new roles especially the linebacker position. So now that they're getting more comfortable, opening things up a little bit more, and you could just tell again that it's Phil, as we say every single week, he's just the GOAT, where he can pluck any new person in and they can just make plays happen, or has the eye to find out what players will play best in certain positions and areas on the field. But it was, again, just another great night for the defense, a great day for the defense.
To your point, Jordan, if the goal line stand to me was killer. That was fun. I was in Syracuse in 2006 and watched those guys do that back then. Reached out to Marcus Pascal last night and said, "Hey, man, I know you were watching the game. What were you thinking?" And he goes, our goal line stand at Syracuse in 06. Backup quarterbacks then, Jason Manson, now on the staff, was the quarterback for Iowa back then in that game because Drew was hurt. Drew Tate was hurt. And then yesterday, Deacon Hill. That goal line stand, Jordan, they brought in Jaden Harrell, a very little used. He plays on special teams, number 41, but they brought him in on that goal line stand, and he made some plays. And that's that situational, a guy that doesn't play a whole lot. You bring him in there, and guys know their roles, and they carry him out.
Yeah, they play sound, they play smart, they execute, and again, it's just from the coaching of how they get to be able to make those plays happen, because there's tons of opportunities in football where, the big plays happen because even though the right call was made on defense, a wide open field tackle is missed, or a miss or blown coverage. Like, those are the things that can turn into big plays when it's just a small mistake by just one even. But again, when the guys defensively are just coached by somebody like Parker, they're just continually playing smart, playing sound, and it's effective, and you just see it all every game that we played so far. And so it's just kudos to him.
Jovan, to the goal line stand. Northwestern tries 2 pushes with Sullivan. They get denied. And then twice with the running back Porter up the middle. They went 4 times up the middle. That's testing your manhood, right? When you go 4 times up the middle like that. And our guy Higgins with the hit on the 4th down was something special.
Yeah, I mean, anytime they try to test you like that, they're basically saying, we're bigger, we're badder, we're stronger than you. We're going to push this right up your behind and make you take it. And Iowa denied them 4 times in a row. I mean, to see it happen is insane, but to be a part of it is even more insane. Like, you really have to, for lack of better word, drop your balls in a situation like that and say, you know what, we're not letting them get in here. And they did a heck of a job of not letting them get in there and score points on that drive.
And Northwestern comes back and does get a touchdown on the next series after the short field and the punt return. But that really held the game up because Northwestern may have had a chance had it gotten to 7-7 there and then gotten the ball back. You don't know how the game plays out, but just an enormous. Rare is the goal line stand, and it was super important yesterday. Jovan, I want to ask you about special teams as well, and we'll get to Cooper on offense later. I know that probably made you smile, and I know Jordan and I were talking about it before we started recording. I know he was appreciative of it as well because we've been talking about it. But Ontario Thompson, he's an interesting story, man. He came out of Dubuque. Nobody wanted him. He went to Iowa Western. Was really good there as a defensive tackle. Came over here. He's on a loaded team, having trouble. Reps are limited at defensive tackle, obviously, with the depth that Iowa has there. Kid blocks his 2nd punt of the season, and huge. I mean, that set up Iowa's touchdown, right? Special teams again.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Iowa, they do a tremendous job in recruiting of finding the right guys, the guys that fit the program in the right ways, and when you have those type of guys in front of you as no matter what position you play, if you're a backup at any position, you find your way and making an impact on special teams. And I was for the life of the program done a tremendous job of finding the right guys that believe that special teams is important. I remember back in our era when guys like myself, Sean Considine, we weren't starters on the defensive side of the ball, but on the special teams units, I mean, I recall Sean blocking, I think 2 or 3 kicks or 4 kicks in a season or something crazy like that.
He had one in the Outback Bowl, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was just, that was our role, was to go on special teams and make an impact. And he did so many different great things there. So Iowa does a great job of finding the right guys that believe in the program and believe in, being if you're a backup that you have to make an impact on special teams. And, when you talk about winning the 3 phases of the game, special teams obviously a big part of that.
Get the ball on a short field, Jordan. It's interesting, and we'll get into the offense here a little bit more, but there was some, that was one of those situations where you really need a TD, right? That field goal would be nice, but you really need the touchdown there. And it looked like when Iowa had success yesterday on offense, it's what it did on that drive, and that's some boot. Get Hill out there. He looked a little more comfortable in that role.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the whole game, obviously would like to see a little bit more execution. But from the blocked punt and then all the way at the end of the game to get in field goal range, Hill did what he needed to then. And again, it just helps when the defense plays as well as it does. But, the one thing I wanted to touch on too, that's it's tough for a guy like Torrey Taylor when you play as well as you do game in and game out, like every single matchup. It's the little things that are like become major because it's tough to kick out from your own end zone. And when we were going against Wisconsin, he had to do it backed up and he was rocketing it. But yesterday, that short field, that was probably one of his like worst punts. And again, it's just tough for him because he's just been playing lights out so consistently. So we still executed. He still had a good day overall, I think. But yeah, the blocked punt was huge to be able to put us there because we just weren't driving down the field and having long offensive drives. But just to be able to have that short field position was major because you got to keep relying on fields.
Obviously, it was interesting to see. We didn't know what we were going to get yesterday, right, Jovan, with what happened this week with interim athletic director Beth Getz making a change. Unprecedented. We haven't seen anything like this in 25 years of Kirk Ferentz running the program. He was clearly shaken up on Tuesday at his press conference. It was a tumultuous week, and we didn't know how that would manifest itself yesterday. But it didn't seem like it affected anybody at all. Everybody knew what their job was. They went out and they did it. Two-part question. What does that say about the locker room that they were able to do that? And, just your thoughts on that decision and what it means for Iowa football going forward.
Yeah, I mean, one thing for sure. I mean, everybody that has watched Iowa play over the last few years understands that the offensive side of the ball has not been electric in any way. They haven't really made headlines or anything like that. But, just knowing what the program stands for and all of the people involved and what they mean to the program. I mean, at the end of the day, they consistently win. Doesn't matter what the formula is supposed to look like to the outsiders. The people in the locker room and the people that meet with the players and that are in the building, they believe in the system that has produced a multitude of wins over the years. So to say that I was disappointed because they didn't let it run its course would be like an understatement, because I think Coach Ferentz understood the magnitude of what was going on. And to do that at that point in the season was kind of like, you kind of just forgot about everything that he has accomplished throughout his career and not letting him take care of business the way that he usually does. But the locker room and the guys that are inside that building, you could tell that they believe, no matter what transpired throughout the week, they believe in Brian, they believe in Kirk, they believe in everything that is involved with the program. And they, for them to be able to put that on their backs and say, you know what, regardless of, we're still going to go out, we're still going to compete, we're still going to play hard, we're still going to do the things necessary for us to win. And they did it in Iowa fashion was, I mean, the most rewarding part of the whole situation But I mean, at the end of every dog has his day, and at the end of the day, you know, when the numbers don't match what aligns with what other people believe, change is inevitable.
Same to you, Jordan. I think, it's hard to dissect what upset Kirk the most, but I think in addition to it being, the emotional part of family, he repeated he doesn't operate that way. He evaluates things at the end of the season, and then makes decisions based on that. I think he was most annoyed by it happening during the season, but same to you. It's got to be a positive that they came out and played their asses off yesterday. That's a good sign for the locker room and moving forward. And then just, in general, your thoughts on the decision and the timing.
Yeah, I mean, the timing definitely was confusing just because we already knew kind of like what Jovan touched on, that the offense isn't doing very well, and that just based off how the games were going, that he wasn't going to meet that kind of like quota structure deal. So just to do it at this time was definitely surprising. But yeah, I mean, Kirk has to be that sort of way as a head coach and look at things in a different lens and perspective. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, he can't deny that for it to be his son is an emotional, especially like the watching it on TV, they showed it as soon as he hugged Brian, like he started to get emotional and before the game started. So it's just little things like that it's just hard to watch. But yeah, it's definitely a good thing that they were able to go out there and get the win. And for the offense, it can be at least now some sort of newfound motivation as the individual players worked for so long. And it's just like, hey, we know he's leaving us at the end. Let's give him everything we have. Let's, play as hard as we can for him. And you never know what that can ignite. But it definitely is tough where, yeah, seasons past recently. It's been the defense really fueling the train to continually have successful winning seasons. The offense not being truly top tier. It's been bottom of the barrel for the past few years. But again, it was tough where this year to get a transfer like Cade McNamara and Eric All and other weapons that definitely could have been something. And just like defensively, we've seen have like continue to grow in the right direction game after game. To lose individuals like that to season-ending injuries definitely hurts the offense. But again, for them to at least just go out, execute when needed, to put up points on the board to get into field goal range to end the game with the win is definitely a good feeling, obviously, to have the win, but good for even with the decision, even with the news, even with all that being on the national spotlight for them to get the job done. So again, hopefully they'll be able to use it as motivation going forward.
Yeah, I think good step yesterday. You got the win. That's the most important thing. And now you move on to the last 3 games of the season. Going to take a break here. Want to let folks know that support for the podcast comes from Systems Unlimited, celebrating 50 years of providing services to people living with disabilities and mental health needs throughout East Central Iowa. A list of their services and upcoming events can be found at sui.org. That is sui.org. Thank you to Systems Unlimited for their support of the podcast and the great work that they're doing in the community. So we're going to hear from a few more sponsors right now, and we'll be back on the other side to talk some more Hawkeye football. And we're back here on the Rapid Reaction Podcast, hawkfanatic.com. Jordan, following up on our previous question and your previous answer, this is the formula, right, going forward here? I mean, if you look at the circumstances, they're banged up on the offensive line now. You're out without your top 2 playmakers at tight end. You got a quarterback that's playing probably before he's ready to play. This is kind of the formula, right? Moving forward here, what we saw yesterday, what we've been seeing here is just kind of lean on the defense and special teams, at least for this season. it seems like that's the position Iowa's in.
Yeah. And again, it's just tough circumstances, but where we are at right now offensively, it's hard where there's multitude of offensive coordinators that wouldn't be able to execute as much. It's been an issue for not having good, strong depth of the receiver position. Again, when you do lose two top tight ends, a top quarterback, and all those different things, and obviously the injuries on the offensive line, it is hard to have success. So, it's just nice to be able to have a defense that you can lean on, a defense as good as Phil Parker's is, and that's just what we have to do going forward. There's games that have been won uglier, and a win is a win. And who knows also what is to come with Michigan's rest of the season with all the news that's come out with them. So, again, who knows? But a win is a win. And if this is how we can carry it all the way to the Big Ten championship, then it's still in our hands.
No doubt. We got our wish, Jovan. Cooper got in on offense. It was limited. I think it was 2 plays. They handed it to him once. He was a decoy kind of on the other play. But it was good to see. 8 yards. Obviously, it worked. Jordan and I were talking about this before we started recording. What did you like from how they used him? And I want to ask both of you guys, there's no way to know for sure, but just from your observations and your experience, how much can they use him on offense to not take away from those other areas? Because Jordan, I think Iowa may have a better chance to score with Cooper returning a punt than they do on offense, at least for a touchdown perspective right now. At least we'll see how things develop. But I feel more comfortable with him back there returning a punt and scoring than I do from Iowa getting the ball on its own 20 and trying to go 80 yards. I'm long-winded here, but just kind of what did you see from what they did with him, and how much can he handle? How much more can you put on his back?
I mean, I was ecstatic just because we've been talking about it for a few weeks, and to see it come to fruition. But not only that, with him in there on offense, the 2 plays that he did have were both positive plays. You got an 8-yard carry by them handing the ball to him, and then you use him as a decoy. You get a 6-yard run play. I mean, that is progress. To me, I think that gives you something to build off of, even if it's just a small package of usage for him, so you don't have him having to go through and learn all of the playbook and things like that. You're only having him in there for an 8 to 12 play, segment or whatnot. I mean, for a guy of his ability and skill set, I mean, he played offense. He was a quarterback in high school. Anytime you play quarterback in high school, you have to learn an entire playbook. So I don't think it will be a lot on his plate, but I do think they need to give him more of a responsibility in that aspect, whether it's just a small package or whatever the case may be. But I think he gives them something that forces defense to have to prepare for the possibility of him being on offense because of how dynamic of a player he is.
Yeah, same questions to you, Jordan. And in addition, on top of that, what does that do now for teams moving forward that are preparing for Iowa on film, and what can they do off of what they've already done with him?
Well, the thing is, defensively, when you see that they're starting to use a guy like Cooper, their best player, special teams, defense, probably the whole team, now you just have to have the conversation and plan for it, which works in our hands where even if he doesn't get the ball, have him out there more often as a decoy, fake a now screen to him and then come to the other side with the play, or just because they're going to have to acknowledge when he's on the field on offense. But then again, when you do that once or twice, then you can play off of that and actually throw him a now screen, give him opportunities where he can make a play rather than like not bring him in at wildcat just to run him up the middle from a zone read or the sweep kind of action that they did with him. was fine. But again, it's like there's only so much you can truly do on those sort of plays. But, again, fake a now screen to him, give it to him another play, fake it now, let him go on a post, or it's just little things where we have to now use him more. Again, even if he just goes out on the field for a few plays, just simply as a decoy, anything that can create space for everyone else. But it was awesome to see. Even when I was watching it with my buddies, I was joking, but I was like yelling out loud. I'm like, they were listening to our podcast.
I forgot to tell you guys, Kirk told me he loves the podcast and listens to it every week. No, I'm kidding.
Oh yeah, so it was funny. It was a cool moment to see him finally back there. But again, we've seen tons of other teams utilize special players in those ways. But again, it's just how we do it. Not bring them in there just to run them up in between the tackles, but give them options, give them plays, and like Jovan said, a little package. But he needs to see the field more on offense, decoy or not.
That sweep, that sets up the throw right now, guys. Kid can throw the ball. He played quarterback in high school. You get him jet sweep, running towards that side, running towards the boundary, just pull up and chuck that thing down the field, right?
Yeah, I mean, he has the capability of doing it. So, I mean, the more you practice it, the more comfortable he's going to be in that situation. So, I mean, a former quarterback, why not utilize his skill set? I mean, it's not like once you leave high school from playing quarterback, you lose it. So I'm pretty sure you can still do it.
Jovan, have you seen Rutgers much at all? I watched the Ohio State game yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them a couple times this year. Start with you. Kind of what do you see? Shiano's a really good defensive coach. This looks like another game that sets up to be a field position. They've got an interesting quarterback though. That's a challenge. Yeah, he can run. He can do some things. Talk to me a little bit about what you've seen from Rutgers.
Yeah, I've been watching them a little bit. Their quarterback's talented, more of a runner than a passer, but at the end of the day, they do have a really good running back as well, who ran the ball very well against Ohio State. So, I mean, given the circumstances, it's going to come down to can the offense move the ball, control the clock, and ultimately put points on the board. Because unfortunately, Northwestern and Rutgers are on two completely total opposite ends of the spectrum in regards to where they are as a program. Northwestern, they have a new head coach trying to build a new identity and things like that. Whereas Rutgers, I mean, minus the Ohio State game, they were 6-2. So they're a good team, and they did some things against Ohio State that I think if you don't stop the quarterback run game or stop the run, then it's gonna be a long day. But the offense is gonna have to score some points against Rutgers. Otherwise, that's gonna be a tough game for Iowa to win.
Throw it to you, Jordan. You've seen much of Rutgers, and kind of what do you think? What do you think are the main challenges for Iowa Saturday when the Scarlet Knights come to Kinnick Stadium? Is he locked up for you, Jovan? He's locked up for me. Let me see.
Yeah, I think he locked up right now.
Recording in progress.
There he is.
Oh, here we go. Finally.
You guys changed spots on YouTube, on my YouTube screen. No, Jordan, same to you. Just kind of how much have you seen Rutgers, and kind of what are your thoughts on the State University of New Jersey's football team?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not much of a fan of Rutgers. They were before all this other expansions with teams, they were the only team I didn't get to play against. But they are definitely in a better and different place as a program, like Jovan said, than Northwestern. They are a good team. It's something that I do expect won't be another high scoring crazy game, but I think there's still a type of team that our defense is comfortable in facing against. And offensively, yeah, we just got to be able to control the clock, what Jovan said, not create errors and turning over the ball, but and make the plays when we need to. But it'll be a good game, a harder game than Northwestern, I believe, but I think we can definitely get the job done, led by, again, our defense and special teams. And I'm not sure yet, but I might have to pop out for that game, finally, with the freedom, with the season being over, but we'll see.
That's cool. I look forward to seeing you on the sideline. If you do make it out here, let me know. With Rutgers, this is a team from the other division that plays a lot of tough competition, plays in tough environments because of having to play at Penn State and Ohio State and Michigan. So I don't think they'll be intimidated by the Iowa environment, but the game is in Kinnick, and that's a good thing for the Hawkeyes always. Did you guys happen to see the total on this game? I don't know how much you are into gambling, but did you see the total that came out this morning for this game?
For the Rutgers game?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't see it. I know the one for Northwestern was 30.
28 and a half. I'm taking the under.
Hey, that's like one of the lowest unders ever recorded, probably.
I think it is. I think it is the record under. So this is just a fascinating season, guys. It's like everything that we kind of think about football and how it should be played, and the high-flying offenses that we see in high school and college and the NFL now, and Iowa's doing it its way. Pissing people off, winning football games with defense and special teams, and now has the inside track on the Big Ten West Division. Just win these 3 games, and Iowa's going to Indy again for the second time in 3 years. And Iowa, by the way, I think has won 12 of its last 15 games. And over the last 3 years, guys, from 2021, Iowa is tied with Penn State for the 3rd most wins in Big Ten play with 16, only behind Ohio State and Michigan. So if you're out there complaining and bitching and moaning, you could be in a lot worse position as a Hawkeye fan. Your team's winning football games. It may not always be easy to watch, but you play to win the game, like Herm said, right?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. If we go on to win in the Big Ten championship, they will take this team and use it as every example for defense wins championships for the rest of history, because Phil is just continually doing his thing, and I know the defense will finish the year strong too and get us there. I think we're going back to Indy.
I do too. I look forward to that trip again. I've made it before twice. Once when Jordan played.
I'm going to the game.
We'll do the podcast from Lucas Oil Stadium if they go. We'll do a rapid reaction podcast from the stadium right after the game if they go to Indy. That's our promise to you in person. All right, folks. Thank you so much for listening to the Rapid Reaction podcast. Thank you so much to our sponsors. Special thanks, as always, to Jovan and Jordan for their excellent insight on the Hawkeyes and what they see on Saturdays. We'll be back to talk to you guys next week after the Rutgers game. And until then,